Tired of alien arrogance, with one broadcast, their fleet started the war. Part 1. The Silence Before Thunder. The message played on every screen on Earth, every colony, every station. The alien ambassador stood tall in the Galactic Assembly Hall, his purple skin shining under the bright lights. His name was Lord, and he was the voice of the Dominion. "Let me be clear," Lord said, his voice cold and smooth. "Humans exist in this galaxy because we permit it, nothing more." Admiral watched the broadcast from his office on the military station orbiting Neptune. He was 58 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served humanity for 40 years. He had smiled at aliens who called him primitive. He had bowed to creatures who laughed at human emotions. He had stayed silent when they mocked human. But today, something inside him changed. The broadcast continued. Lord waved his long fingers at the assembly. "Humans live such short lives, 80 years, 100. We live for thousands of years. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have watched stars die. And these humans think they deserve equal standing. They are children playing in the gardens of giants." The assembly laughed. Hundreds of alien species all laughing together. The sound filled the hall like thunder. Admiral turned off the screen. His hands were steady, but his heart was burning. His door opened. A young woman walked in. She wore the uniform of a communications officer. Her name was Lieutenant Park, and she was one of the best in the fleet. "Sir," she said quietly, "Earth Command is sending out an official protest." "A protest," the Admiral repeated. He almost laughed. "They insult us in front of the entire galaxy, and we send a protest." Stood still. She understood his anger. Every human who watched that broadcast understood. "What would you have us do, sir?" she asked. Admiral looked out the window. Beyond the glass, the dark space stretched forever. Somewhere out there, human colonies were struggling. They paid tribute to They followed assembly rules that were designed to keep them weak. They had done this for 80 years, ever since humanity first reached the stars and discovered they were not alone. "I would have us be patient," the Admiral finally said. "A little longer." Frowned, she did not understand, but she trusted him. 3 days later, the news came. The Dominion had sent a fleet to humanity's outer colonies. 50 warships now surrounded the planet Nova, blocking all food and supply ships. They called it a security measure. Everyone knew it was punishment for the protest Earth had sent. Governor Me sent desperate messages from the surface. Her people were already running low on food. Children were going hungry. Medical supplies would run out in weeks. Earth's government begged the Assembly for help. The Assembly said they would investigate the matter. That meant they would do nothing. Admiral received the reports in silence. His officers watched him, waiting for orders. But the Admiral only sat in his chair, reading the same files over and over. Captain was the first to speak. He was 45 years old, a tactical genius who had never lost a war game. "Admiral, we have to do something. Our people are dying." "I know," said. "Then give the order, let us fight." The Admiral looked up. "Fight with what? Our official fleet has 30 ships, the blockade has 50, and if we attack, the full Dominion will come. 3,000 ships, we would be destroyed in a day." Clenched his fists. "So we just watch our people starve." Admiral stood up slowly. He walked to his desk and opened a drawer. Inside was a single file sealed with the highest security clearance. The label read, Project EXTRMER. "Captain," the Admiral said quietly, "what I am about to show you does not exist. Officially, it has never existed. You will tell no one. Do you understand?" Nodded slowly. The Admiral opened the file. The documents inside told a story that changed everything. For 50 years, humanity had been building in secret. Hidden shipyards beyond Neptune, secret research stations in the asteroid belt, thousands of scientists and engineers working on technology that the galaxy had never seen. The thought humans were primitive. The assembly thought humans were children. They were all wrong. Humanity had been watching, learning, improving. The official human fleet had 30 old ships, but the hidden fleet had 247 warships. Each one was faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything in the galaxy. They had weapons that could cut through shields like paper. They had engines that did not need assembly jump gates. They had been waiting in the darkness, silent and patient. Stared at the files, his hands were shaking. How is this possible? How did we hide this? We smiled, Admiral said simply. We bowed, we let them laugh at us, and while they were laughing, we built. The Admiral closed the file. I have waited 50 years for this moment. I hoped it would never come. I hoped the galaxy would learn to treat us with respect, but they never did. They never will, not unless we teach them. He looked at with eyes that burned with cold fire. Captain, gather the senior staff. We have work to do. That night, messages went out to ships hidden across the solar system. Crews who had trained in secret for decades received their orders. Engineers powered up engines that had never fired. Weapons systems came online for the first time. Lieutenant Park was called to the Admiral's office. She stood at attention, confused and curious. Lieutenant, the Admiral said, in 3 days you will send a message. It will be broadcast on every frequency, in every language, to every world in the galaxy. It will be the most important message in human history. Swallowed hard. What kind of message, sir? Admiral smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had carried a heavy weight for too long and was finally ready to set it down. A declaration, he said, a warning and a promise. He handed her a small data chip. Study it, memorize it. When the time comes, you will speak for all of humanity. Took the chip, her fingers were trembling. Sir, are we going to war? The Admiral turned back to the window. The stars were bright and cold, scattered across the endless black. No, Lieutenant, he said quietly, we are going to end one. Across the darkness of space, hidden in shadows and silence, 247 ships began to move. Their crews were human. Their hearts were burning, and their patience had finally run out. The galaxy had laughed at humanity for 80 years. It was time for humanity to answer. Tired of alien arrogance, with one broadcast, their fleet started the war. Part 2, the broadcast heard across stars. The Defiance was the largest ship humanity had ever built. It floated in the asteroid belt of a distant star system called 442, far from any alien eyes. For 20 years, this ship had existed only in classified files. Now its lights were on, its engines were humming, and its crew was ready. Admiral stood on the bridge and looked at the faces around him. These were the best officers humanity had. They had trained in secret for this moment. Some of them had given their entire careers to a mission they could never speak about. 2 days ago, the Admiral began, the Dominion blocked our colony at Nova. They are starving our people. Our government sent a protest. The galaxy laughed. No one on the bridge moved. They all knew this already. For 80 years, the Admiral continued, humanity has been treated like animals. We bow. We pay tribute. We follow rules that were made to keep us weak. We do this because we had no choice. We were alone, surrounded by enemies. He paused. We are not alone anymore, and we are not weak. The main screen flickered on. It showed a map of the solar system and beyond. Scattered across the map were hundreds of small lights, each one a ship. 247 warships, the Admiral said, built in secret, hidden in darkness, each one more advanced than anything they have ever seen. Commander stepped forward. He was the Admiral's second in command, a careful man who questioned everything. Admiral, even with these ships we are badly outnumbered. They have thousands of warships. The Assembly will support them. They will try, Admiral agreed, but we have advantages they do not expect. Engineer Bora spoke up. She was young, only 29, but she had helped design the weapons on these ships. Our shields adapt to enemy fire. The more they shoot at us, the stronger we become. Our quantum cannons ignore their defenses completely, and our engines do not need assembly jump gates. We can go anywhere, anytime. Nodded slowly. He was starting to understand. They are strong because everyone believes they are strong, Admiral said. Today, we break that belief. We show the galaxy that humans are not insects to be stepped on. We are the storm that has been building for 80 years. He turned to Lieutenant Park. She stood near the communications station, her hands clasped behind her back. Lieutenant, the Admiral said, are you ready? Took a deep breath. She had memorized every word of the message. She had practiced it 100 times, but this was real. In a few minutes, her voice would reach every corner of the galaxy. Yes, sir, she said. The Admiral nodded. Open all channels, every frequency, every language, broadcast to every world in the assembly. The communications officer worked quickly. Lights turned green across his console. Channels open, Admiral. We are connected to the entire galactic network. The bridge fell silent. Admiral looked at and gave her a small nod. Speak for us, Lieutenant. Speak for all of humanity. Stepped forward. Her heart was pounding, but her voice was clear and strong. To all species of the Galactic Assembly, to the Dominion and its allies, to every world that has watched humanity struggle and suffer, this message is from the people of Earth. She paused. Across 1,000 planets, billions of beings stopped what they were doing. Screens flickered on. Speakers crackled to life. Something was happening. For 80 years you called us weak, continued. You laughed at our short lives. You mocked our emotions. You said we exist only because you permit it. You were wrong. The Lord was eating dinner when the broadcast began. He almost choked on his food. His servants scrambled to trace the signal, but it was coming from everywhere at once. You saw our smiles and thought we were harmless, said. You saw our patience and thought we were afraid. You saw our small numbers and thought we were helpless. You never saw what we were really doing. In the assembly hall, alien diplomats gathered around screens. Some were confused. Some were worried. A few were already terrified. While you laughed, we built. While you ignored us, we learned. While you counted your ships and your weapons and your years of life, we prepared for this moment. Governor Me heard the broadcast on Nova. She stood in her office, tears running down her face. Her people gathered in the streets, listening to every word. Today, the lies end. Today, humanity reveals itself. We have ships you never saw. We have weapons you cannot imagine. And we have something you will never understand, the fire of beings who refuse to die quietly. On the Defiance, Admiral watched the broadcast with pride. This young woman was speaking for billions of humans who had been insulted and ignored for generations. To the Dominion, continued, her voice growing harder, your blockade of Nova is an act of war. You will end it or we will end it for you. And to all who kneel to the understand this, we do not kneel. We do not bow. We do not ask for permission to exist. Lord was screaming at his officers now. Find them. Find where this signal is coming from. Destroy them. But it was too late. We are declared. We are the humans you dismissed, the humans you laughed at, the humans you tried to starve and silence. Today we speak. Tomorrow we fight. And we will not stop until the galaxy learns a simple truth. Humanity will never be slaves. She took one final breath. This is our declaration, this is our warning, and this is our promise. The age of human silence is over. The age of human fire has begun. The broadcast ended. For a long moment the galaxy was silent. Then chaos erupted. On Prime, the High Council called an emergency meeting. They demanded to know how humans had hidden an entire fleet. They demanded action. They demanded war. In the assembly, smaller species whispered to each other. Many of them had also suffered under rule. Could humanity really challenge the Dominion? Could this be their chance for freedom? On the Defiance, Admiral turned to his officers. Jump coordinates are locked in. All ships report ready. Stepped forward. Admiral, are we certain about this? Once we attack, there is no going back. The Admiral looked at him calmly. Commander, there was never any going back. From the moment they called us insects, this moment was coming. We were simply patient enough to choose when it arrived. He raised his hand. All ships engage jump drives. Target, Nova blockade zone. 247 ships activated their engines. Space bent and twisted around them. And then, in a flash of light, they were gone. On 50 warships orbiting Nova, alarms suddenly screamed. Sensors detected impossible readings. Ships were appearing from nowhere, human ships, hundreds of them, surrounding the blockade fleet. Admiral of the fleet stared at his screen in disbelief. This is not possible. Humans do not have this many ships. His communication officer looked up with terror in his eyes. Sir, they are targeting us. Straightened his uniform. He was a proud warrior. He would not show fear. Signal the fleet, destroy these insects. But as he watched the human ships spread out around his fleet, moving faster than anything he had ever seen, a cold feeling settled in his stomach. The insects had teeth, and they were very, very angry. Tired of alien arrogance, with one broadcast, their fleet started the war. Part 3, First Blood. Admiral of the Dominion had fought in 23 battles. He had never lost. His fleet had 60 warships, each one powerful enough to destroy a human city from orbit. He had been sent to blockade Nova because it was an easy mission. Starve some humans, teach them their place, nothing more. Now he stood on his bridge, watching 247 human ships surround his fleet. This is impossible, he said for the third time. His officers were running between stations, shouting at each other. Alarms were screaming. Everything was chaos. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the human ships are not matching any known designs. Our targeting systems cannot lock onto them properly. Gripped his command chair. Fire anyway, fire everything. 60 warships opened fire. Beams of energy sliced through space. Missiles streaked toward the human fleet. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The human ships did not run. They did not hide. They moved. Captain commanded the destroyer wing, 40 ships designed for speed and precision. He watched the fire coming toward them and smiled. Adaptive shields active, his engineer reported, absorbing enemy fire. The energy beams hit the human shield and scattered like light hitting water. The missiles exploded harmlessly against barriers that seemed to grow stronger with each impact. Return fire, ordered. Quantum cannons targeted spread. The human ships fired back. Their weapons were nothing like anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of energy beams or missiles, they fired pulses of concentrated quantum energy that simply ignored enemy shields. The first ship exploded. Then the second, then the third. Admiral watched in horror as his fleet began to die. His shields meant nothing. His armor meant nothing. Human weapons cut through his ships like they were made of paper. Fall back, he screamed. All ships fall back. But the human fleet was faster. They moved around the ships, cutting off escape routes, targeting engines and weapon systems with terrible precision. On the Defiance, Admiral watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. He felt no joy. War was never something to celebrate, but he felt something he had not felt in decades: pride. Admiral, Lieutenant Park reported, the fleet is in full retreat. 12 ships destroyed, 23 disabled. The rest are trying to run. Do not let them escape, the Admiral said quietly. I want their commander alive. Captain heard the order and pushed his destroyer wing forward. His ships danced through space, circling the fleeing vessels like wolves hunting deer. One by one, the ships stopped. Their engines failed. Their weapons went silent. They floated dead in space, helpless against the human fleet. The battle had lasted 11 minutes. On Nova, Governor Me stood on the roof of her government building. She had been watching the sky, praying for a miracle. Now she saw lights falling, ships burning as they entered the atmosphere, crashing into the ocean far from any city. Her assistant ran up beside her. "Governor, we are receiving a signal from the human fleet. Admiral wishes to speak with you." Me could barely breathe. She followed her assistant inside and stood before a communication screen. The face of Admiral appeared, calm and steady. "Governor," he said, "the blockade is broken. Relief ships will arrive within hours. Your people will not starve." Me tried to speak, but her voice failed her. Tears were streaming down her face. For months she had watched her people suffer. She had begged the galaxy for help. No one came. "Thank you," she finally managed to say. "Thank you, Admiral." Nodded. "No thanks are needed, Governor. We protect our own. That is what it means to be human." The screen flickered off. Outside, the people of Nova were cheering. They had heard the news, ships were coming, food was coming, hope was coming. Admiral was brought aboard the Defiance in chains. His fine uniform was dirty and torn. His pride was shattered. He had never imagined defeat, especially not at the hands of humans. 2 guards led him to the bridge. Admiral stood waiting, his hands clasped behind his back. Admiral said calmly, "Welcome aboard." Lifted his head. Even in chains, he tried to look proud. "You have won nothing, human. The Dominion will send 1,000 ships. They will burn your worlds to ash." "Perhaps," agreed, "but not today. Today you lost, and the galaxy is watching." He stepped closer to the commander. "I want you to deliver a message to your High Sovereign. Can you do that?" Said nothing, but his eyes burned with hatred. "Tell him this," the Admiral continued. "Today was a rescue mission. We came to save our people from your blockade. We took no lives that did not need to be taken. We destroyed no ships that did not fire first." He paused. "But if the Dominion comes for us, the next battle will be different. We will not hold back. We will not show mercy. We will bring fire to every world until your empire is nothing but memory." His face went pale. "You are bluffing. You do not have the strength." Admiral smiled. It was a cold smile, the smile of a man who had planned for this moment his entire life. "You thought we had 30 ships. We have nearly 250. What else do you think we have been hiding?" He turned away. "Take him to a shuttle. Send him home. Let him tell his masters what he saw here today." The guards dragged away. The commander did not resist. He was too shocked, too broken. Commander approached the Admiral. "Sir, the Dominion will respond. They will send their full fleet." "I know," said. "Are we ready for that?" The Admiral looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, they were already planning their revenge. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was watching and waiting to see what happened next. "We have been ready for 50 years, he said quietly. "Let them come. We will teach them what humanity truly is." On the planet below, Governor Me walked through the streets of her capital city. People were singing. Children were laughing. For the first time in months, there was joy. An old man stopped her. His face was thin from hunger, but his eyes were bright with tears. "Is it true?" he asked. "Are we really free?" Me took his hands in hers. "Yes, the humans came, our people came. We are not alone anymore." The old man nodded slowly. "I always believed. I always knew that someday humanity would rise, that we would stop bowing and start fighting." "Today is that day," Me said, "and tomorrow we will stand together." Above them, human ships circled the planet like guardian angels. Their weapons were ready. Their crews were alert. They had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. In the darkness of space, a single shuttle flew toward home. Inside, Admiral sat alone, thinking about everything he had seen. The humans were not insects. They were not children. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors. They were fighters. They were beings who had learned to hide their strength behind smiles and patience. And now, finally, they had stopped hiding. The Dominion had no idea what was coming. But they would learn. Very soon they would learn. Tired of alien arrogance, with one broadcast, their fleet started the war. Part 4, The Galaxy Reacts. The news of the Battle of Nova spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species, every world, every being with access to a communication screen heard the story. The mighty blockade fleet, 60 warships, had been destroyed by humans in less than 15 minutes. No one could believe it. On the High Sovereign sat on his throne and listened to Admiral's report. The High Sovereign was ancient, over 6,000 years old. His skin was dark purple, almost black, and his eyes glowed with cold light. He had ruled the Dominion for 2,000 years. He had crushed rebellions. He had destroyed entire species. He had never known fear. Until now. "You are telling me," the High Sovereign said slowly, "that humans, the same humans who bow to us, who pay tribute to us, who we allowed to exist, destroyed your fleet." Admiral knelt before the throne. His shame was complete. "Yes, my sovereign. Their ships were beyond anything we have seen. Their weapons cut through our shields. Our sensors could not track them. We had no chance." The throne room was silent. The nobles and generals looked at each other with fear in their eyes. "How many ships do they have?" the High Sovereign demanded. "They showed us nearly 250, said, "but their admiral suggested they have more, hidden, waiting." High Sovereign stood up slowly. His robes swept across the floor like shadows. "Impossible. We have watched humanity for 80 years. Our spies are everywhere. We would have known." "They hid it from us," said quietly. "They smiled and bowed while they built in secret. We were fooled, my sovereign. We all were." The High Sovereign's hands clenched into fists. His rage was terrible to see. "Mobilize the full war fleet, 3,000 ships, every warship in the Dominion. We will go to their pathetic little system and burn every human world until nothing remains but ash." The generals nodded quickly. Orders went out across the Dominion. The largest fleet in galactic history began to gather. Far away in the great hall of the Galactic Assembly, chaos ruled. Ambassador Song of Earth stood at the speaker's platform. She was 48 years old, a diplomat who had spent her entire career being polite to aliens who despised her species. Today, she was done being polite. "The blockaded our colony," she said, her voice ringing through the hall. "They tried to starve innocent people, children, families, workers who had done nothing wrong. When we asked the assembly for help, you did nothing. When we begged for mercy, you laughed." Hundreds of alien diplomats shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "So we helped ourselves," Ambassador Song continued. "We broke the blockade. We saved our people. And now the Dominion calls us aggressors. Now you demand we apologize." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "We will not apologize. We will never apologize for defending our own." Lord of the pushed forward to speak. "This human speaks of defense, but she hides the truth. Humanity has been building weapons in secret. They have violated assembly law. They must be punished." "Assembly law?" Song turned to face him directly. "The same law that says junior species cannot have more than 30 warships. The same law that keeps us weak while you grow strong. The same law that lets you starve our children." She pointed at Lord. "That law was designed to enslave us. We reject it. We reject all of it." The assembly erupted in shouting. Some aliens demanded human punishment. Others sat quietly, watching with curious eyes. In a dark corner of the hall, a group of observers watched without speaking. They were an ancient species that had never taken sides in galactic politics. Their bodies were thin and gray, their eyes large and black. They had existed since before the assembly, before most species had learned to walk upright. The leader turned to his companions. "The humans are interesting. he said in their silent way of communication. They have surprised everyone, including us. Should we intervene? Another asked. No, we observe, that is our way. The leader's dark eyes focused on Ambassador Song. But send a message to the human admiral. Tell him we are watching. Tell him we wish to understand. Back in the assembly, the shouting continued. Some species were demanding war against humanity. Others were quietly grateful. They had suffered under rule for centuries. Could this be their chance for freedom? A small diplomat from a minor species called the approached Ambassador Song after the session ended. They were short, blue-skinned beings who had been conquered by the 500 years ago. Ambassador, they said quietly, my people have watched your broadcast. We have seen what you did at Nova. We want to help. Song looked at the small alien with surprise. Help us. Your people serve the Dominion. We serve them because we must, they said. But if you can truly stand against them, if you can break their power, we will stand with you. Quietly at first, but we will stand. Song nodded slowly. Tell your people to be ready. This war has just begun. On the Defiance, Admiral received two important messages. The first came from Earth Command. They were mobilizing their full fleet, over 3,000 warships. They would reach the Sol system in approximately 3 weeks. The second message was stranger. It came from the observers, beings so ancient and mysterious that most species barely believed they existed. Admiral, the message read, we have watched your species for many generations. You are small, you are young. Your lives last only moments compared to ours, yet you have done something remarkable. You have surprised the galaxy. The Admiral read on. They believe they will destroy you. Perhaps they are right, but we have learned never to predict what humans will do. You are either the galaxy's salvation or its destruction. We do not know which yet, but we will watch the coming battle with great interest. May your fire burn bright, Admiral. Put down the message and looked at Commander. It seems we have an audience. They said slowly, I thought they were myths. They are very real and very old. If they are interested in us, it means something. The Admiral stood up and walked to the window. How long until the fleet arrives? 21 days, sir. And our preparations? Checked his data pad. The Sol Defense Network is at 80%. Hidden weapons platforms are being deployed throughout the asteroid belt, and the Titan is almost ready. The Admiral nodded. The Titan was humanity's greatest secret, a battle station the size of a small moon, hidden in the storms of Jupiter. It had taken 30 years to build. Its main weapon could destroy hundreds of ships with a single shot. Good, said. Let them come with their 3,000 ships. Let them think they are marching to victory. When they reach Sol, they will find something very different. Engineer Bora entered the bridge. Her face was tired but excited. Admiral, final tests on the Titan are complete. All systems are working perfectly. We are ready. The Admiral looked at his crew, parked at communications, reviewing tactical data, checking fleet positions, Bora smiling despite her exhaustion. These were the people who would decide humanity's future. These were the think this will be a quick war, Admiral said. They think they will crush us with numbers, but they do not understand us. They do not understand what it means to be human. He turned to face them all. We feel fear and we fight anyway. We know we might die and we stand anyway. We are small and short-lived and we dream bigger than stars. That is our strength. That is what they will never understand. Lieutenant Park spoke up. Sir, what do you want me to tell the fleet? The Admiral smiled. Tell them to rest. Tell them to spend time with their families if they can. Tell them to remember what they are fighting for. And tell them this, when they arrive, we will not run. We will not hide. We will meet them in the fire and show them what humanity is made of. 21 days, that was all they had. But for humans, beings who lived urgent, passionate, burning lives, 21 days was enough. It would have to be enough. Tired of alien arrogance, with one broadcast, their fleet started the war. Part 5: The Battle of Sol. The Armada arrived at the edge of the Sol system like a storm cloud covering the sun. 3,000 warships stretched across space, each one bristling with weapons. High Sovereign himself commanded from his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, the largest ship ever built, a flying fortress that had destroyed entire civilizations. He looked at the tactical display, showing the human defenses, and laughed. 250 ships, he said to his generals. Against 3,000, this will not even be a battle, this will be an execution. The fleet moved forward in perfect formation. They had crossed empires like this before. They knew exactly how the fight would go. The humans would flee or die. There was no third option. But as they passed Jupiter, something strange happened. Sensors began to flicker. Ships reported seeing shadows in the storm clouds of the giant planet. Then, from the swirling red and brown gases, something enormous began to rise. The Titan emerged from Jupiter's atmosphere like a monster waking from sleep. It was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons, shields glowing with power that made sensors scream with overload. High Sovereign stared at his screen. What is that? No one could answer. Nothing that large should exist. Nothing that large could be hidden. Yet there it was, floating between the fleet and Earth. On the bridge of the Titan, Engineer Bora watched her displays with fierce pride. She had spent 10 years of her life on this station. She had helped design its weapons, its shields, its engines. It was her masterpiece. Admiral, she reported to aboard the Defiance, the Titan is at full power. Primary weapon is charged and ready. Admiral's voice came through calm and steady. Hold fire until my order. Let them come closer. The fleet hesitated. Some captains wanted to attack immediately, others urged caution. High Sovereign silenced them all. It is a trick, he declared. One station cannot defeat 3,000 ships. All forces advance and destroy that thing. The Armada surged forward. 2,000 ships moved toward the Titan, while 1,000 more headed for the human fleet guarding Earth. Captain commanded the destroyer wing near Mars. He watched the enemy approach and felt his heart pounding. This was the moment. Everything had led to this. All ships activate stealth systems, he ordered. Wait for the signal. Around Mars, hidden in the planet's shadow and among its moons, 100 human ships became invisible. Their advanced technology bent light and sensor waves around them. They simply vanished. The first wave of ships reached the Titan and opened fire. Thousands of energy beams hit the station's shields. Missiles exploded against its armor. The attack was overwhelming. The Titan's shields held. High Sovereign frowned. Increase firepower. All ships concentrate on that station. More ships joined the attack. The space around the Titan turned white with weapon fire. Still, the shields held. Hal whispered, "How is this possible?" On the Titan, Bora monitored the shield generators. "Admiral, we are holding steady. Shield absorption at 70%. We can take more." Admiral's voice came back instantly. "Now, engineer, fire the main weapon." Bora smiled and pressed the button. The Titan's main weapon was something humanity had never shown the galaxy. It was not an energy beam or a missile or anything they had ever seen. It was a focused quantum pulse that tore apart matter at the atomic level. The weapon fired. A wave of invisible destruction swept through the formation. Ships did not explode, they simply came apart. Hulls dissolved, weapons melted, engines failed. In the space of 3 seconds, 400 ships ceased to exist. Silence fell across the battlefield. High Sovereign stared at his display. 400 ships, gone just like that. His ancient heart felt something it had not felt in 2,000 years, fear. "Fall back," he ordered. "All ships fall back and regroup." But the humans were not finished. From Mars, Captain gave the order. Stealth ships, attack pattern Delta. 100 destroyers appeared from nowhere, right in the middle of the fleet. They fired their quantum cannons at point-blank range. Ships exploded all around them. From Earth's orbit, the main human fleet advanced. Admiral led them personally from the Defiance, 200 ships against the remaining force. The battle became chaos. Weapons fired in all directions. Human ships danced between the beams, too fast to track. The Titan fired again and again, each blast destroying dozens of enemy vessels. Lieutenant Park coordinated communications across the entire battle. Third Wing, enemy ships breaking formation on your left. Fifth Wing, support the Titan's port side. All ships watch for missiles. She had never worked so hard in her life. Her fingers flew across the controls. Her voice stayed calm even as death exploded all around them. High Sovereign watched his fleet dying. Half his ships were gone now. The rest were scattered and confused. Human vessels moved through them like ghosts, striking and vanishing before they could respond. "This cannot be happening," he said. "We are the Dominion. We have conquered 100 species. We cannot lose to humans." One of his generals stepped forward. "My sovereign, we must retreat. If we stay here, we lose everything." His eyes burned with rage. Retreat. The Dominion had never retreated. In 6,000 years of war, they had never run from any enemy. But the numbers did not lie. He had come with 3,000 ships. Less than 1,000 remained, and the humans were still fighting. "Signal the fleet," said, each word bitter as poison. "Full retreat, jump to space." The surviving ships turned and ran. Their engines flared as they prepared to jump away. One by one, they vanished into the darkness. Admiral watched them go. He felt no triumph, only exhaustion and relief. "Admiral," Commander reported, "the enemy fleet has retreated. We count approximately 800 survivors. The rest are destroyed or disabled." Nodded slowly. "Casualties." Checked his display. "We lost 37 ships, sir. Around 2,000 personnel." 2,000 lives. 2,000 humans who had given everything for this moment. The Admiral closed his eyes and said a silent prayer for them. "Sir," Lieutenant Park said quietly, "we are receiving communications from across the galaxy. The battle was broadcast live. Everyone saw what happened." On 1,000 worlds, beings of every species watched in amazement. The mighty Dominion, the greatest military power in the galaxy, had been defeated by humans. The diplomat who had spoken to Ambassador Song wept with joy. For 500 years his people had served the. Now, for the first time, freedom seemed possible. The observers recorded everything in their ancient archives. They had watched countless battles across millions of years, but they had never seen anything like this. "Remarkable," the leader said to his companions. "The humans have changed everything." On Earth, people poured into the streets. They had watched the battle on every screen, holding their breath, praying for victory. Now they celebrated with tears and laughter and songs. Governor Me watched from Nova. Her colony had been the spark that started this fire. Now they would be part of whatever came next. Aboard the Defiance, Admiral stood alone on the bridge. His officers were celebrating, hugging each other, crying with relief. He understood their joy. They had won an impossible victory. But he knew the truth. This was not the end. High Sovereign had survived. The Dominion still had ships, factories, resources. They would rebuild. They would come back. And next time, humanity needed to be ready for more than just a battle. They needed to be ready to rebuild the entire galaxy. Captain approached him. "Admiral, what happens now?" Looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, they were licking their wounds and planning revenge. Somewhere out there, other species were wondering if they too could break free from ancient chains. "Now," the Admiral said quietly, "we finish what we started. They will not surrender until we force them to. We take the war to their." His eyes widened. "An invasion." Not an invasion, corrected. A liberation. They have ruled through fear for thousands of years. Today, we showed the galaxy that their power can be broken. Tomorrow, we break it completely. He turned to face his captain. Prepare the fleet. We move in 48 hours. The war is not over. But I promise you this. By the time we are finished, no species in this galaxy will ever be slaves again. The human fleet gathered around the Titan, battered but unbroken. They had won the Battle of Saul. Now they would carry the fire to the stars. Humanity had risen, and nothing would ever be the same again.